Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of How Did We Get Here? I'm your host, Jay Carter, and the man that is always heard and never seen, Skeens. He's playing the background today, aka the Wizard of Oz, aka Dr. Claw. But again, better than your average is the channel and the movement. How did we get here is the show. We got two cousins that are like brothers talking any and everything in the process. How did we get here? But without any further ado, we have a very special guest today. This is probably the most specialist this guest that we have ever had on the show. A lot of people were asking for this interview. Y'all got one half of my makeup, which is the interview we did with my pops a few months back. But now we got the other side of the equation and the coin. What else was I gonna say? The legend. The hero, the beautiful, the talented, my mother, Barbara Carter. Say what's up to the people.
What's up, people?
So, guys, again, you guys know how important that my family is to me. You know how important my mom and dad are to me. So again, like I said, we did interview with Pop and been talking about having Mom on for a while. We were supposed to do it like at the same time that we filmed that, but we didn't get it done. So I was like, we're going to do it by phone. We didn't do that. So they were here for the holiday and they're getting ready to leave tomorrow. I'm like, we have to get this done. And she gave me a funny look. But again, I want y'all to understand kind of how I got to the place of where I am as far as how I think and how I look at things and all that kind of stuff and kind of what makes me me, but also wants to hear her story and some things that she's been through. Some, she's a plethora of knowledge and information as far as just relationships and life in general. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, son.
So, let's get right into it. So as we do with everyone, I pose this question to you. If you had to put a title to the story of your life, what would it be?
The Journey.
The Journey. Okay. So Barbara Carter, The Journey. That's the episode. We're going to call it that, The Journey. So, got to give you some flowers, also. We'll give you your chicken while you can eat it. So, one thing I can say about this young lady here is that a lot of people wonder where I kind of got my knack or my ability to kind of communicate and things like that with women a certain way is because she and I were very close. You know, I'm a self-proclaimed mama's boy. And so I spent a lot of time with her, and she always gave me the ability to come to her about anything. I didn't always do it, but and we just had a level of dialogue that, again, we had that line where, again, I respected her as my mom, of course, but we just had such an open relationship. She always encouraged me. A lot of people say used to call me borderline conceited. It's because of her. You know, she always made me understand that I had to have self-esteem and love me some Jay. It's her fault. So she always encouraged me when I was doing my acting thing. When we had the big camcorders up here, y'all, you know, she would get down and act out stuff with me. We would do little sketches and skits in the house. She would do all that stuff. I remember what she did when she was crawling around on the floor acting like she was in the desert. She couldn't find water. I was about 14 years old, something like that. She would help me with my lines for plays, help me memorize them, all of that stuff, man. So, again, I just love you. You know what I mean? You know how close and tight we are. You know, she's still one of my best friends in the whole entire world. So, um, the journey of Barbara Carter, where did it start? Well, Barbara Hurd. Where did the
Right.
journey of Barbara Hurd start?
Um, I can say my journey started when my parents got divorced when I was a little girl,
Mm-hmm.
and my mom became a single parent. Even though my dad was my dad, um, he was an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
He, by definition, then or now, you would say that he may have been even bipolar
Right. Mm-hmm.
in some of his actions, which scared us kids to no end.
Right.
His ups and downs, highs and lows. He taught us the value of, you know, keeping the house clean because he was a neat freak.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom had to, cater to that.
Right.
But he was also an alcoholic and who would, go and get the paycheck on Friday, bring
Mm-hmm.
all this stuff because he used to get his checks cashed at the liquor store.
Mm-hmm.
And so he would bring all these chips and candy and all this stuff home and just pour it out on the bed when he came home. But by the time he was home, though, he was inebriated.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to deal with that. So Saturday, that's Friday night. Saturday he would drink all night and come home and, fight my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Sunday morning, he would want us to pray and have church at home.
What a crazy dynamic, right?
Right. It was turmoil.
Right. Right. Because I know, guys, I will always ask her. She would tell me these stories about how my grandmother and my grandfather would fight a lot. And, one key thing is, like, I always ask, did it bleed over to the kids? Like, no. And so I would ask her, like, when your parents were getting a divorce, I'm like, how did you guys feel? And she was like, we were happy. Them two were together.
Happiest day of our lives.
Right.
It seemed like our refrigerators seemed like it never kept things cold
Mm-hmm.
until we left my dad. When
Wow.
we took the refrigerator was even happy. So
Right. Now, tell us how many of you guys was it?
8.
8
4
total.
boys and 4 girls.
4 and 4.
But my oldest sister, she was already gone. She
Right.
had already graduated from high school.
Mm-hmm.
Then my oldest brother, he was in and out. He didn't have his own place at the time, but he was in and out. So when we left my dad,
Mm-hmm.
it was 6 of us permanently left at home
Mm-hmm.
who
Yeah.
moved. Yeah.
An intriguing thing about him is that he's called to preach.
Yes.
Was great with his hands. Built
Yes.
a lot of things.
Carpenter.
Carpenter built y'all that house. I remember.
Playhouse.
Playhouse,
We had
yeah.
2-story playhouse as a
How
kid.
crazy is that?
My dad, he did all these great things, and he had great aspirations to do great things.
Mm-hmm.
But, the drinking and, I hear that a lot of people who may be going through some things, mental issues, mental health issues, sometimes try to drown it out with alcohol.
Right.
And that could have been his issue.
Mm-hmm.
Just not sure, but he was never diagnosed. But,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think that also is as we take the conversation forward, you always say that you learn 2 things from people: what to do and what not to do. And I know
Yes.
that's something that you definitely didn't bring with you. Some of those things, you left behind, and kind of you and Pop, made your own way, because neither one of you actually really had frame of reference that was necessarily right there where you were seeing those couples that were like that were, positive. Or did you have some? I know Pop really didn't have any. Did you have any couples that you necessarily looked up to like that? Or
Well, as a little kid, you don't really have a positive couple because you don't really know what's going on inside. You
Right.
know, because during those days when I was a little girl, moms did most everything with the kids. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you saw the dads go to work and come back home, but they didn't really. Now my dad interacted with us a lot. I'll say he did because he's had a neighborhood kickball. Back in the day, you did kickball.
Right.
So we used to have back in the day kickball teams with the neighbors, all the neighborhood kids, baseball. He was an avid baseball fan,
Mm-hmm.
so he loved baseball. And I think every time I see baseball now, I think how hot it. You know, back then you only had fans in the windows and all that. So every time I see a baseball game, I feel hot because
Right. Yeah.
my dad used to sit all day
Mm-hmm.
in a wife beater
Mm-hmm.
and watch baseball. And then he would take us kids outside and teach us how to play baseball.
Right.
And that's how we ended up, you know, getting the kids rallied together to in the playhouse. We used to charge them to go in the playhouse. Hey, we had lights in there, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, so
Okay.
we enjoyed it.
So you guys, if I remember correctly, when your mom and dad got a divorce, you were like third grade.
Yes.
Okay. So what? How did life change for you after the family was separated like that?
I'll say it changed because you know my mom became a single parent,
Mm-hmm.
and she was a stay home mom
Mm-hmm.
the whole time. So that dilemma kind of threw us for a loop because you know what else, you know, what could she do really?
Right.
And she tried a few things, and you know some of the things didn't work. You know,
Did she? What did? I don't know what grandma ever did.
she didn't really do anything because after, well, she had asthma.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then they caught bronchitis. She had it really bad. And so a lot of times she wasn't able to, you know, do a lot of work. And so we ended up, after we left my dad, we ended up on welfare for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And, but even in that, we felt like we had it better
Mm.
that way
Mm-hmm.
than we had it with him because we didn't have to worry about somebody coming home on Friday night, Saturday night,
Mm-hmm.
you know, fighting my mom. And, you know, because the last time my mom and dad were together, you know, the last big fight I remember as a kid, she assured us that that would be the last time she allowed him to, you know, dominate over her in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so when she made plans for us to leave, he was uh, going to work because he worked at night.
Mm-hmm.
And so
What did he do then?
he worked at a, was it a saw? I think a sawmill.
Mhm.
Is that what that was?
Mm-hmm.
And so he worked at night, and he would come home about maybe 6 o'clock, from 6 to 7
Mm-hmm.
for lunch. And my mom would, you know, make lunch for him,
Mm-hmm.
and then he would go back to work. And so that particular night, he came home, he ate lunch. All the while, he didn't know that bags were packed in the closets, and the U-Haul had been pretty much packed and around the corner. And so by the time he got off work at 11, we were gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had left. Even though I felt bad, you know, for my dad because, you know, I love my dad and never remember him saying he loved me.
Mm.
But I think he had intentions to be a good dad in certain ways, and then, but sometimes he dealt with a lot of demons.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of demons. Some I can say, and some I don't dare say
Mhm.
because you know it's not my thing to tell.
Right.
And so I couldn't, you know, give somebody else's story away, and
Right, I got you.
especially if it's not been dealt with.
Right, yeah, for sure. Now, I know there was also a big gap in age between grandma and him.
Yeah.
You know, the guys, this was back in that day when, you know, the women would get married off super early, but I know her first marriage, she was how old?
12.
12 years old and was married. You
Right.
know, like what what part of the game is that? You know, her first marriage,
Yeah,
but
it's Haven's age. So.
you know what I mean? So think about a 12-year-old, you know, with a husband, you know,
Yeah.
straight up Color Purple style. But anyway, let's take the conversation forward. So y'all are there. It's you got 2 older that are gone, but it's y'all 6 that are there.
Mm-hmm.
Grandma's doing what she can do. You know, rest in peace to Miss Orly.
Yeah.
Orly Heard. She's doing what she can do. And let's talk about for you. You can remember the time you were coming up when integration of schools first happened.
Yes.
Now, can you give us some insight into what kind of what that was like being in elementary school when that was going on?
When I first went to school with, when we were integrated with other students from other backgrounds and ethnicities, I think I was in the third. I was in the third grade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know you were elementary, but
yeah, because the school that I came from, we had just in the second grade had integrated, as I can remember, and I did have a lot of Caucasian friends. I had quite a few. Always did. I've always had other friends,
right,
from other ethnicities. And, because it never bothered me. I just saw people as people. And if I liked them, I liked them because there were people my own color that I liked and didn't like.
Right,
So,
yep.
Same way.
Yep.
And so I always taught you and the girls, it's not about what the color of the person is. It's just the character that they bring to the table.
Right. So you're going along, and then a lightning strike happens.
What kind of lightning strike?
Yeah, lightning strike maybe not initially, but in a GTO, Pontiac GTO.
No.
He didn't have that at the time, but let me set the scene a little bit. By the way of Jeffrey Lewis Carter. Well, at that time, he was just Jeffrey Lewis Carter. It wasn't, he was a senior yet.
Right.
So, you guys have been married since September of 1979. So, you got married at 17 years old.
Yeah,
he was 18. How? Why? What were y'all doing? How did y'all,
Only God knows.
Now watch, guys. When you've been married this long, my pop was on the sideline talking about make sure you don't say nothing that'll get you left in Texas. Give you behind the scenes.
Which
so
we know that will never happen.
Right, of course, he just talking to it.
Right.
But so at that age, being young in love, take us back to that time when you met him.
Well, when I met him, I didn't like him. I thought he was weird. I thought he was strange. Because, when we moved into the neighborhood.
Right. Because y'all stayed in another part of town.
Right. And then we moved into the neighborhood.
Right.
It wasn't really where he lived because he lived across the highway over there.
Right.
So had he not come across this way, because the school was on my side of the highway, so he would have to go across to school. But had he not gone across to the neighbor's house to where I was at, I would never have met him because I knew his brother. His brother was a musician, your Uncle Jesse.
Right.
Jesse Carter. We love you, Jesse. Rest in peace. And so when I met him, he was asking me all these weird things, and so he was telling me, they were like, yeah, his brother. I was like, no, I don't know his brother.
Could he put them together?
Jesse Carter. And I was like, who?
This heathen?
I said,
Vagabond?
You're Jesse Carter's brother? Wow.
And a lot of y'all know, but some may not know that my mom has been, a singing little songbird since she was a young lady. So she sang forever. You know what I'm saying? So that's how that connection happened. Uh, so when y'all, so how soon after that initial meeting though did y'all actually officially start dating? Would you say? Did you know I never asked you that? Did you? Hey, will
It
you
had
go?
to be
Will you
pretty.
go with me after that, or what is?
It had to be pretty immediate because within a year, we were married to each other. So after a year of dating, so I don't. I'm saying maybe I don't know.
It was quick though.
Right.
Do you remember asking her out? He's off camera, y'all.
He asked my mom. He asked my mom. 18 months.
You asked her.
Like a April, and then all the way to
September.
that next, the
Then
following September.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, you asked grandma if you could date her?
He asked her if he could take me. We were going to the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went to the movie.
What did we go to see?
I can't remember what we went to see, but we went to.
We went to the drive-in a lot.
Oh
I
Lord.
think our first time to the movie was we went to the Malco.
No. Are you serious?
I think so.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, I be messing with her about, man. You was trying to do some wrong to my mama back in the day, you bum. But so y'all got this torrid love affair, and then you're a teenage wife, Barbara.
Yes.
How in the world?
That takes a lot of adjusting because people, they don't look at you as a wife. They look at you as a kid. They look at you as a teenager. They don't look at you as somebody who goes home after school and cooks dinner, for your husband.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, people don't see that aspect of teen marriages. And there was one other girl in school at the time with me. She was a teen wife at that time too. And so we both used to have that camaraderie because, everybody in class would always say, "So what do you do as a wife? How are you a wife? And you're a teenager?" I'm like, "You just go and say I do and sign the papers. That makes it legal. I mean, it's no special thing, The special thing, because I know after we got married, a lot of teens wanted to I can do it. I want to do it. I want to, Now, we had a lot of teens, dating and having babies, but not married. And we did the opposite. We got married before we had the babies. And they would get the babies and break up.
Okay.
So that was, even love as a teenager ebbs and flows.
Right.
It's good one day, bad one day. Because you're a teen.
Right.
You're crazy. You don't know what you're doing, how to think, what to think, and you want to be. That you can be considered an adult because you live on your own, but you're not because you still need that guidance from your parents. And so yeah, it was kind of crazy. Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
How long would you say it stayed there?
Stayed crazy.
Yeah.
Oh man, a long time, probably. Yeah, a long time. Because unresolved issues are unresolved issues, no matter how old you are. And especially as a teenager, sometimes when you're married as a teen, you still look at that spouse as a boyfriend or a girlfriend because mentally you're not capable of handling in our society. Now, in other countries, you could be groomed at as a teenage young lady to be a wife.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the United States, you're not groomed to be a wife. You're just groomed to act like a crazy teen,
Mm-hmm.
you know, go out, hang out with your friends, go to parties, whatever. And but you're not groomed to be a wife. And
You was learning on the job.
yeah, OJT, exactly. And sometimes you fail miserably. You know, sometimes we wanted to put that pink slip in a lot. Here is your pink slip.
So let me ask you this, because somebody was talking about, and not to rain on the brothers parade, but a YouTube creator was talking about, Tyrese just recently, him and his wife are getting a divorce,
Right.
and he was saying that maybe because of Tyrese's upbringing and things, and him being married before and being in a number of relationships, that he doesn't really know how to stay in a relationship.
That's not true.
And that oftentimes these days that people have a mechanism in them where they will bail out when it gets tough, though.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So how did you guys navigate that wanting to bail out? Well, let me ask you this. How would you say that y'all communicated at the beginning of the relationships, and how did that evolve to where you had more effective communication later and now?
I guess because your dad and I, at a lot of times we weren't great communicators, but we communicated.
Okay.
And sometimes we got it right, what we heard was correct, and sometimes we didn't hear what we should have heard from the other person.
Mm-hmm.
But when it came to sticking it out, like I said, we had the opportunity, we've had pink slips before.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about, marriage, I don't care how, and a lot of people try to say, oh, you're a teenager, that, teens can't stay married. And yeah, there are old people who don't stay married.
Right.
Tyrese is not a teenager.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you can't say that, and I'm not saying anything against it because I don't know what his
we don't know,
situation is, and God bless your marriage. I hope y'all can stay together before you sign those papers.
Right.
But, a lot of people try to blame it on age to commitment to another person. But I say that there are old people, like my mom used to always say, there are old fools like there are young fools. And there are old people who stay married, and there are young people who stay married. And it's all according to your commitment level to one another. You have to have two people wanting to stay together and willing to hear the voice of God to say, you really don't want to, give this person up. You really don't want to go your own way. And even though sometimes you feel in your own heart it's the best thing for you, because, your dad and I, like I said, have gone to hell and high water not to be together. But somehow God always miraculously turned things around to where it was like, what? How did that happen?
You know what? I remember, I might have the story kind of wrong, but I remember one time when we lived in Cove the first time, I remember y'all was fussing or something like that. And he's, I'm going back to Arkansas or something. And you was packing bags. I remember you had a fur coat. I don't know. I felt like you packed the fur coat or had the fur coat. I don't remember.
Probably.
But then that next morning we was supposed to be leaving. He was driving us back to Arkansas. So I didn't understand what had happened. Y'all remember that?
Well, we were going to Arkansas. I was going to stay in Arkansas.
Oh, okay.
You and I were going to stay in
We
Arkansas.
were.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But
I vaguely remember that,
we were driving to Arkansas, and we stopped at a gas station.
Uh-huh.
And when your dad got the gas, when he went into the convenience store, when your dad got the gas, he put his wallet on top of the car.
I remember that.
And lost the wallet.
Uh-huh.
So we had no money. And how are you and I going to stay in anywhere without
Right,
money.
right,
He
right.
had to provide for us
Right.
to wherever we were going to stay.
Right.
So, needless to say, we stayed in Arkansas for a little while at his mom's house,
Mm-hmm.
my nephew Skeens'
Mm.
mom's house, which is my sister. And the next few days, we went back to Texas.
Boom, just like that.
Just like that. Just like that. Okay, we have no money. Let's go back.
Do you remember that?
I remember that.
And there was this car driving next to us, and they kept blowing at us and blowing at us. And we were like, what is going on with them? They were probably trying to tell us.
Your wallet's on top of your car, you dummy.
One they might have had.
Thank you.
I know, right? Oh well. Hey, look. But
Yeah, so
okay. So young couple.
misguided.
Yep. And that couple finds themselves where the dad is in the military,
Yeah.
and you're headed to Fort
Benning.
Benning. And
Georgia.
from Fort Benning, you're headed to
Italy.
Italy. So this little small town country girl is overseas. What was that like for you leaving grandma?
Hard.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the last time I saw my mom alive.
Mm-hmm.
And she did not want me to take you at all.
Right.
She wanted me to go and leave you with her.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, nah, I can't do that.
Right.
And but Italy was great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was afraid to go to Italy because I'd never gone anywhere, you know, like that before, overseas. And I enjoyed it because, you know, learning about another culture,
Mm-hmm.
you having the ability to learn about another culture, being able to speak the language a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It was good.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. It was good for the family to be by ourselves, and it was good, you know, like I said, for you to see how other people lived, even though you were little.
Yep.
And learn another culture.
Were things improving or still crazy between y'all a little bit at that time?
Yeah, they were good.
Yep.
Yeah, they were good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't have any problems.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like I say, you know, teenagers, you mean young, ebbs and flows, the 20s, early.
Yeah, y'all were
By this time, we were
early-
in our early 20s.
early 20s at
Yeah.
that point. Yeah. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
But I wanted to take one step back because I think a part of the reason in talking about, again, you learn what to do and what not to do from those that come before us. What you learn from your mom is that I know she had a relationship where you used to talk with her a lot.
Yes.
And that's something that you brought into how you raised me
right.
as your son. Now, I wanted to touch just a little bit on how we came from your upbringing and coming up in the church as a young lady, and then how we transitioned to later on going to Christian House of Prayer.
Mm-hmm.
What was give a little bit of your experience of what was your experience with God and coming from that to what you turned into later?
Okay. Well, when I was little, we went to, I think it was Mount Nebo Baptist Church.
Mm-hmm. Is that still there?
I don't know.
No? Okay.
Have-
I had never heard of it. That's why I was wondering if that's still even around, but yeah.
And my mom and dad, sometimes my mom went with us. You know, my dad never went.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever remember him ever going to church.
Mm.
Ever going to church. Even though he used to sing about the Lord and, you know, like I say, wanted us to go to church on Sundays, but I never physically saw him go into a church.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. And then when my parents got a divorce, then we went to, my mom gave her life to the Lord, and we went to First Trinity Church of God in Christ, and that's where we stayed until, Jeff and I went to Georgia when we went to Georgia,
Mhm.
and then that was the last time, except for when we went to Germany.
Right. We went to Kojic Church.
We went to Kojic Church, but that was the only time, from then.
Mhm.
And then after Italy, Bishop was, in Italy.
Well, do this for me though. But what was your experience or your
I did not have,
relationship with church and God at that time?
I did not, I'll be honest, I didn't have any kind of experience really, because some of the things that happened when I was growing up in Church of God in Christ that I loved, that some of it, it was fearful
Mhm.
for me.
What do you mean?
Sometimes the laying on of hands.
Oh, that yeah, I got you. Yeah.
You know, sometimes that was really fearful. And then, one night I was, we were supposed to tarry for the Holy Ghost, and we tarried so long I just had to pretend like I got to come out of that room. But my respect for our pastor, Elder Hill,
Mhm. The late great.
I felt like he was a great pastor. The leadership, he was a great man of God, and he was always busy doing stuff.
Mhm.
And he always tried to pull the young people in to, stay busy and, keep us engaged in the church.
Mhm.
And so there was Brother Vaughn had a store right across the street from the church.
Mhm.
And every time Elder Hill would start preaching, he would go and open the store. So he was like the Pied Piper for the little kid, for the kids. We would get our money, some of that Sunday school money you were supposed to put in church, and you would
Y'all was taking the Lord's money and buying sandwiches and cakes and cookies. And
all
sodas
those
and
little
pops.
candies and cookies, those individual cookies in those big round tubs.
Right.
And you would get 5 of them or 10 of them or whatever. And but you still had a respect, and you knew that from the teaching you got from Elder Hill that your soul needed a resting place when you died.
Mhm.
You need to make Jesus the Lord of your life. And even though I was not committed, I knew I needed to be committed, and that was one of the goals of mine, was to give my life to the Lord.
Mhm. And so, I know when we were in Italy, you said that like at that time, Pastor but Bishop Holcomb had come over, right?
He and Pastor Val
Mhm.
came over. There was a chapel on post, and the minister was Minister Reddick,
Mhm.
and he was a good friend of then Pastor Holcomb, which became Apostle Holcomb, Bishop Apostle. And when I heard Bishop preach, and he said he was in Texas, Fort Hood,
Mhm.
Texas, and I think we could have gone to Texas or Georgia or somewhere like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to go to Texas. I was like, Lord, if this is your will, let us go to Texas
Mhm.
so that I could go to his church. And I just felt like he and Pastor Val were just the epitome of just what I'd never seen before,
Mhm.
like a tag team in the ministry.
Mhm.
And so I'd never really had that exposure to that kind of, because sometimes pastors' wives are seen and not heard.
Mhm.
They are in the background and they don't do anything. I'm not saying they don't do anything. A lot of times you may not see
You don't see
what
it,
they
right?
do,
Right.
but you could see some of the fruit of the labor of the ministry,
Mhm.
with the way that they, cared for the church, cared for the body.
Mhm.
And so that was so fascinating for me. It was like an aha moment for
Mm-hmm.
me spiritually, and that is what gave me um, the strength, or I don't know. It just turned a light on in my head
Mm-hmm.
that what I saw in them, I just wanted to be a part of that.
Mm-hmm. So you and I were going there, locked in, solid. Pop came a little bit later, but
Yeah.
I want to talk about how you navigated through you being locked in, because I think what's key for a lot of women that may be in their journey and they may find challenging their spouse is not there yet. How you got there, right? How you navigated that. But
Right.
just a quick backtrack is I want to talk about uh, your love for singing and how you sang in church all those years and sang at Chop, and um, how did you even start? It was choir in school, or
I always liked when I was a little girl. I used to like. I had allergies really bad when I
mm,
was growing up. Still can some days. Texas is really bad on my
mm,
allergies. Oklahoma, where I live now, is not so bad.
right?
But I was always in a lot of times, and then I was afraid of all the bugs and
Hmm.
spiders and
Not outdoorsy at
lizards
all.
and frogs and
Hmm.
all that. So outdoors, really, and unless it was in the playhouse or somewhere that wasn't confrontational,
Hmm.
I wasn't good in sports.
No.
My brother used to choose me last. My mom used to make him choose me because everybody would get chosen except me because they knew I wasn't good at it. And so I would be inside listening to opera. I used to love listening to opera on TV.
Hmm.
And then I used to sing like in, Easter plays at church. I would
Hmm.
sing in those little Easter plays. And then when I got older, I joined my school choir.
Hmm.
And so when I joined my school choir, Mr. David Hodge, he's gone on. But I used to love Mr. Hodge. He was such a great music teacher, and he cared about the students, and I was a good friend of his, and I hope he felt the same. And when my sister had been in the choir 2 years, I think, before me, and then I had to audition because you had to audition
Hmm.
for the choir, and he was like, "Oh my goodness, you can really sing. You know, why haven't you joined the choir before?" And I'm like, "Mr. Hodge, I wasn't old enough.
Hmm. Right.
I wasn't old enough to join the choir."
Hmm.
But I enjoyed it, and then church. Then I joined, the choir at church.
Hmm.
And at first, I was in an a cappella choir, and then I was in the adult choir, and then I sang with my brother-in-law because we used to go all over the place singing with him,
Ooh.
Jesse.
Oh, I thought you said. I don't know why my brain went somewhere else.
Yeah,
Forgive me.
yeah.
So when did you?
And
When
even
did
the
you?
late James Moore, I used to
Right. I
sing with
remember
him.
that. When did you feel like, okay, you have it in your mind like I could sing a little bit, when you knew that I could sing? When did you have that
Um,
aha moment of singing?
I don't think I still have an aha moment when it
Really?
comes to singing. No, because my confidence as far as saying that I can sing, I can hear from somebody else before I can admit that to my own self.
Now this
So
woman
that's why.
has what used to have as a kid requests to sing all the time, weddings, all that stuff. You still don't have that thing where you like, okay, I can sing a little bit. Do you remember the first
Yes.
song that you led?
Uh, do I remember the first song I led? I don't remember the first song that I led. I remember the first song I led at Chop. I do remember that.
Okay, what song was that?
It was a Christmas song, "O Come Emmanuel."
Do I remember that?
Yeah, you should. That was the very first song that Roderick had me to sing. Because I had to audition for you know, the choir there too.
Right.
And so he was like, "Oh yeah, you can sing. So can you
Was
do
it more of an
can you
operatic
do-"
kind of song?
The choir.
No, I don't remember that, but I remember there was a song. What I'm thinking about that you were practicing. It was kind of operatic a little bit. We'll talk about it later, but I don't know if you, because you know I was your ride or die, so I'd be in the car, listen to the tapes. I knew all the songs and you know all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But I'm trying to think of what that song was. But
Okay.
anyway, so I just wanted to take that little trek, you know, because people will the barber, because people know me because of her. People come up to me that I don't know all the time. Oh, you barber son? Yes, you know. Tell your mama from that time, you know. Okay. Tell your mama I said I don't know who you are, but hey, you know. Some of y'all, I'm just be honest. I don't even know who you are, you know, but just tell you the truth. So take us forward now. Me and you were lock solid. I was going to Christian House of Prayer as a young kid.
Yeah.
I mean, their teaching of us as kids, I mean, it was advanced, y'all. My witness at that point was busting kids upside the head on the playground. Get saved or you're going to hell. Ha! You know, I had to change up my witness. Y'all that know me now, my witness is more relatable, but back then that's how it was. So
Was not. I had to have the talk with him.
So how did you navigate? You're going to church every Sunday. Your husband is at home. He's not going. What was that like for you?
I didn't really think about him not going.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought about me going,
Okay.
because at that point, every top has got to stand on its bottom. So I know what I needed, and I knew he needed it, but he had to come to that revelation, and it's not always the same. That's why I call it a journey. Everybody's got their own journey in life.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that as I got serious, that I would be praying for him, and then the Holy Spirit would prick his heart to want to come. Because sometimes, you know, we do come kicking and screaming, you know, because if somebody's praying for you and your heart is open just a crack and the Holy Ghost, you're like, why do I not want to go there today?
Right.
Why do I not want to say that today? Oh, stop praying for me, stop.
Right.
You know. But I was happy to be the one to start the process of us being a Christian family.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, you know, the Lord was telling me, you know, a lot of things about what I needed, because I didn't have a book, a roadmap to being a wife, you know, the kind of wife I should have been, or that God desired me to be. I used to always think, because, you know, we were kids, we grew up together.
Yeah,
it's
indeed.
like almost like on the playground.
Right.
And it's like, you can't tell me what to do. You can't tell me what to do. I don't have to listen to you. And I was like, see, Lord, he doesn't want me to listen to him. Because I was telling him one time after Bishop had preached about, you know, the wife's duty and everything, and, you know, submitting to the husband. And I came home, I said, see, I'm going to go home and I'm going to ask him if he wants me to submit to him. And I said, do you want me to submit to you? He was laying on the couch like he is now. He looks over at me, girl, no.
That's what he said?
Yeah. And I was like, see, Holy Ghost? He said he don't want me to submit.
I don't have to change a thing. I'm perfect.
I'm good. And so I could hear the Holy Ghost saying, he may not know what you should be doing,
Right.
but you've been taught now. You know
Now you
what
know,
you
yeah.
should be doing.
Yeah.
So, you know.
So before that, you weren't a submissive wife?